Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be starting a small series focusing on equipment and how I build them. Today's topic will be a beginner's guide in setting up your gear at the start and what you could do to make the cheapest and biggest gains as you progress through the game. For starters, I recommend getting common gear once you've unlocked the first 3 towns. The first 3 town equipment merchant sells the most common types of gear that we use in the game. Town 1 sells attack, Town 2 defense, and Town 3 HP gear. Each archetype has different requirements. Attack and HP sets require 4 pieces to activate their effects, while the defense set only needs 2. With only 6 gear slots, you can't have attack and HP sets on the same unit. So defense is the archetype that I recommend the most, as it boosts survivability and increases your CC compared to the other ones. The only other archetype that I recommend that requires 2 pieces is the crit damage set, so that will be something you would want to build later on into the game. The most common setup that people use in the game are either 2 HP sets and 2 attack sets, or 3 attack sets and 1 HP set. 2 HP and 2 attack means that in your main team of 4, 2 of them have HP and defense sets, while the other 2 have attack and defense sets, with a 3-in-1 setup being 3 attack and defense sets and 1 HP and defense set. Now let's go over the different sets and what stats they affect. The top 2 pieces, the bracer and the ring, affect attack and attack related skills. For their substats, they could either have attack, pierce, crit chance, and crit damage, but for a basic guide, I do recommend re-rolling for attack sets on both of these pieces. The necklace and the earrings affect defense and defense related stats. For their substats, you could have defense, resistance, and crit defense, but I would just recommend rolling for defense stats on both of them at the beginning of the game. And finally, the belt and the orb affect HP and HP related stats. For their substats, they affect HP, regeneration rate, recovery rate, and lifesteal. And just like before, I recommend re-rolling for the main HP stat on all of your gears. The gears are divided into different rarities, going from common, uncommon, rare, SR, and SSR. In this guide, we will be only focusing on common and SSR weapons, as in my opinion, the rest of the gear is irrelevant. In 7 Deadly Sins, the left side has superior base stats compared to the right-hand side. So we will be building our SSR gear in the left, and we'll stick to common on the right to start things off. Each gear has different substats depending on what stats they affect, but at the start I recommend re-rolling for attack, defense, and HP in the respective places. The percentages do not change from rarity to rarity, so having C gear on the right hand side is ideal starting off with, as upgrading the gear is very cheap and very cost effective. Now let's talk about upgrading gear and how it works. Each piece can be enhanced to +5 using these red enhancing stones. These stones can be easily acquired from salvaging your gear, through events, and through the PvP shop. I recommend salvaging all the useless gear you get from the quest to easily acquire them to start enhancing your gear. After they've been enhanced to +5, the next step are to use the blue awakening stones. Each tier has their own awakening stones, common stones being the easiest to get, while SSR stones being the hardest. They can be acquired from item salvage, guild and PvP shops, death matches, and gear gacha. Unlike enhancement stones, you could use common stones to enhance to uncommon stones, and so forth via King in the Tavern, like so. You will need 6 pieces to enhance to a higher grade, so it's always worth to save your stones in the long run. If you have the time and patience to farm the specific SSR gear, this is the most ideal setup that I've found in the game. If you aren't sure about which setup, 2 HP to attack, or 3 attack and 1 HP to run, I would go with this setup. Your ring and your orb should be defense sets, while the rest attack or HP. If you keep all your gear in this order, it'll be easier to swap gear around in the future. The downside of doing this is that it'll take you a lot longer to farm the required SSR sets in the future, as you will need many sets of the same piece. Now let's go over the pros and cons of 2-2 teams versus 3-1 teams. The benefits of having a 2 HP and 2 attack team are that you will naturally have a higher CC, as HP gives you the most CC from each stat, attack being second and defense being last. Your team will naturally be tanky, so if you have 2 damage dealers, this is ideal. Unless you have 3 damage dealers in your main team, I recommend using this setup as it gives you the biggest CC gains while being a good mix of attack and survivability. Units like Gowther and King and other support units are the units you will want to have HP gear on, while DPS units like Jericho and Hauser and support DPS units like Merlin are the units you want to have attack sets. The pros of 3 attack and 1 HP teams is that you have a high offense, though you sacrifice a dip in combat class and survivability. At the start, this setup is also viable as your units are still working on gear and awakening levels, giving you an extra boost in damage to help clear things a little bit faster. At the end of the day, it is up to you on which sets you prefer, and you can always swap between the two, but I feel like these 2 setups are the most common in the game. Now let's talk about how you should start building your units. In the beginning, use whichever random left side gear you have, as long as it fits your team build, and progress through the story until you unlock PvP. After this, I would start focusing on increasing towns 1, 2, and 3's heart ranks to 5 to unlock all the SSR gear farming weapons. While doing this, I recommend to start working on your right side equipment as well. Each town equipment vendor sells common pieces of gear, so purchase the required rings and earrings and orbs needed, and let's go from there. Instead of selling to the shop all the equipment you receive from the rewards and quests, you should go to the tavern and use Diane to salvage them all. This will net you some red enhancement stones and blue awakening stones if you're lucky. As for awakening stones, if you are very low, I suggest doing a few PvP matches using coin food to farm up PvP coins. I use these to purchase the Sea Awakening stones at the shop. They only cost 9 coins for 12 pieces, so do the math and figure out how much you need and purchase what's necessary from the shop. If you have enough of the materials and gold, I suggest doing all 4 common sets in one go. But if you don't, you can slowly work on your rings, then your orbs, and then finally your earrings, as attack and HP are more important at the start. You will need 15 common awakening stones per piece of equipment to max it out at 5 stars. After fully enhancing to 5 stars and plus 5ing, it's time to re-roll the stats. You will want at least 1.5% rolled at the start for either attack, defense, or HP. Ideally, you want these to be at 3%, but gold is scarce in the beginning of the game, so just get the needed stats and get on with progression. The reason why we are using common gear instead of R gear on the right is that R gear is ridiculously expensive to enhance and re-roll for a slight boost in stats. As soon as you get more gold, you ideally want to re-roll for a higher base stat, at least around 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, if you're lucky 3% for each one. I hope this information helps you get started out, and for the next video I'll be talking more about the SSR gear on the left and when and how you should be farming them. Thanks again for watching the stream, guys. I stream every day on Twitch if you have any questions or generally just want to hang out. My Twitch is twitch.tv/dancedark. And if you have any comments to make my stream or my videos better, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.